Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I am going to connect with Peter Johnson to find out what makes him an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. But before we jump into it, please remember, if you like the content that we provide, like, subscribe, and ding that bell for notifications. All right, let's get into this. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you kick us off with your bio basics?
Will do, Larry. Well, as Larry said, my name's Pete Johnson. I'm from Stoke on Trent, which is part of the Midlands in United Kingdom. I'm 68. In fact, I'm 69 next month, February the 18th. Remember that date. I'm married. I've got two children. My wife's named Helen. She's retired, same as me. I've got Callum and Beth. One's a helicopter engineer. That's Callum, and Beth's a physics teacher in a local school. I used to be a telecommunications engineer for British Telecom. That was my main job before I retired. I retired pretty early. And then obviously I went into sport then more, part-time. I've got other hobbies as well. I do astronomy. I make model kits. I do other things. Myself, I'm about 5'8" tall. I'm shrinking slowly, but 5'8". I've never smoked, never drank, never done that. Well, little lie, I used to have a bit of whiskey at Christmas. That was about it. I've always kept fit. I've always done some sort of sport, but my main sport is martial arts.
Great segue into telling us a little bit about your overall physical fitness background, your lifestyle background. Why don't you just tell us some history of how it began for you?
Right, I've always been interested in martial arts, and that's going back, I know it's a cliche, to Bruce Lee and that. I was about 21. We were watching the movies, and I decided to look at some sort of sports. I did a little bit of running, jogging. I did a little bit of football, ages ago, but not a lot. I decided to get into Taekwondo, which is a local club. My instructor, he's getting on a bit now, John Blair's. That was years ago, and he's still going, but I don't think he's as good as he used to be. Well, that's how I got into the martial arts. But what I do mainly now is I'm trying to keep as slim as possible. I know that's what it, but for what I do, I need to have a good frame. Obviously, muscles and joints, and they need to work properly, especially legs for Taekwondo. That's a big thing. So I work a lot on them. I take a few supplements, mainly glutamine, oils, fish oils. That's about it, for that side of it. I do a lot of walking with the daughter. Walking is less invasive on my knees, I find. So I try to walk every day, either a big walk or a small walk. I go to the gym every day. Now I'm a member of a local gym. That's mainly for flexibility for what I do. I need to keep flexible at my age, but I do very light weights. I don't do heavy weights. My gym routine changes. I could probably talk about that more later, but it's different every day. So I walk, and then I've got 4 or 5 Taekwondo classes I run every week, plus special sessions, Zoom sessions as well. And also I do private one-to-one lessons. I've got a shed at the back. It's quite a big training hall where I do one-to-one lessons. Obviously, we did a lot more Zoom over the COVID period, but that keeps coming up, and that's still carried on for a bit.
Let's go back to, again, your history. So when did you, what age did you start Taekwondo, and kind of how did that progress through to continue on to where you are today?
Well, I started about 21. I never did a lot before then. I think that's helped me with my martial arts, because I think people who played football and got knee, cruciate injuries before, they didn't really carry on. So I didn't have any really bad injuries. So I started about 21. I started with a guy named John Blair's, who's a 7th Dan now. Then I moved on, and I trained with a grandmaster in Manchester, Grandmaster Tom Gonshin, who's a 9th Dan. I started running clubs, and I was really 21 for competitive Taekwondo. That's the Olympic fighting side. I was getting a bit too old for it, and in the injuries, sort of 30, 35, you're over the L really for Olympic Taekwondo. So I started looking at the Pumsi. The Pumsi is a bit similar to in karate forms, the kata, and I started training with Grandmaster Shin in Pumpsey quite a while back. It was just trying it out at first, and I got quite good. So I won a couple of local competitions. Then I went on to the nationals. I think I've won the nationals, the British nationals, about, I think, 7 times. I've got a couple of runner-ups, silver medals. Then I went to my first Worlds, which was in Peru, World Championships. There wasn't a lot of medalists in Pumpsey, in forms in this country. And I got a bronze medal in Peru, in Lima. That was good. That was a 3rd place bronze medal. And from then on, I got 3 European titles, 2 Commonwealth titles. One was in Canada, in Montreal. And also, I've got quite a few national titles, like I mentioned, and some international titles. I think 3 times the German Open. So many. I've competed so many times. I've sort of lost the plot. I used to have a diary, with all the competitions in, but I don't know where it's gone. But I think you can go actually on all these competitions online, and you can look at the results from there. But that's how I've sort of progressed. But now I'm getting the trouble is with these divisions, age divisions, in the World Championships and World Taekwondo, only go up to 66 and above. So I've sort of gone over that now. They are bringing over 60s, over 70s divisions in, but they're not going to put them into the world. So that's where I'm stopping now and doing more coaching and training.
Did anybody inspire you along the way?
Well, my instructor, Grandmaster Shin, he's double world champion from Manchester. He got world champion twice, and I've always trained with him. But there are other people as well. There's people like Amy Truesdale, who's one of my students, who's got a Paralympic bronze medal in Tokyo. And she inspires me because she trained with us for a couple of years, 9 years. And I took her onto the Paralympic stage as a coach. And then she was taken off my hands, obviously, when it went to Olympic by the GB national team. But she's fantastic and she's really good. For her age now, she's 30, but she's still going to Paris. She's going to Paris this year. You
talked a little bit about some of the achievements you had. Were there any specific achievements that you put above any others? Yeah, I've just recently got my 8th Dan in Korea, 8th Dan, which is a Grandmaster achievement, which I flew over last year to Seoul to do that. So explain what that means a little bit for my audience, in case folks aren't familiar with the martial arts or Taekwondo. In
most martial arts, you get a black belt. And then to go progress with that, you get a 1st Dan, a 2nd Dan, a 3rd Dan. It goes up. When you go over 5th Dan, you become a master. When you go over 8th Dan, you become a grandmaster. Then there's 9th Dan. And it's all by the years as well. So if you get your 2nd Dan, you have to wait 3 years to take your 3rd Dan. If you get your 3rd Dan, great, you have to wait 4 years to get so on. So I've just got my 8th Dan last year in Seoul, and I've got to wait 9 years now to get my 9th Dan, which is doing more forms, more sets of movements and things like that. Sometimes sparring, it depends, but age-related things, sparring is more like forms that I do a lot of now, more forms, caters. Did you have any setbacks along the way, injuries, etc.? I'll tell you a quick story. Now. It was about 20 years ago. I was still doing my Taekwondo, and I decided to do some running. And I did some running with my daughter at Northwood Stadium, and we went silly. We actually did a 100-meter sprint around. I hadn't run for a good while. And it was brilliant. And my daughter was, oh, yeah. Next day, I couldn't move. I couldn't get out of bed. And it was really serious, like, honestly. And I thought that was it. And I was like hobbling about. It was about nearly a week. And I went to the doctors and they just said, your knees, they need x-raying. They x-rayed them at the local and they said they turn into mush. And I said, what? I can't do anything about that. He said, they turn into mush, you'll have to have them operated on. So I went to where I worked for British Telecom. They had a scheme, for doing these things, and sent me to a local physio, and they checked me, and I'd been sitting against the wall and all these things they do. And she said, yeah, you've got problems with your knees. And she said, what I'll do is, do the exercise, then come back. As I was walking out the door, there's a cabinet, and she went like that. Have you tried these? I said, what's that? She says, glutamine. And I thought, I've tried all the other stuff, the the red cougar ginseng, and I've tried, nothing happens. So I'll try them. Okay, I'll try them then. And how much? So I got the glucosamine, and then somebody said after, try the glucosamine and clondrine. Now I've actually got upstairs somewhere the X-rays of my knees. Now you're talking in 15 or 20 years. I've been on the glucosamine, no problem, Larry, no problem. And touch wood, whatever, no problem. So whether it's working or not, I don't know, but it doesn't come off them now, just in case. So that's just a little quick story that I've got the X-rays, so it's done something.
So do you have any current pending goals specifically, or events or anything that you're really trying to shoot for and achieve right now?
Well, there's lots of competitions in England and everywhere. There's one in Canada, in Montreal, there's one coming up. I'm just trying to build my clubs up more now after COVID. So I run so many clubs and they've gone down a bit over COVID, and we're trying to work on them as well. But there are some actual online pumpsy competitions. We do competitions online since COVID. So actually, when we do forms, set movements, they can be done in front of a video camera and marked all over the world. So there's a couple of them coming up that have won and gone on. And the thing is, you go against athletes from all over the world with these. So they're quite good. And there is, I think we've got the Lanarkshire Open, Scotland. That's in about 4 weeks, so I'm putting myself in for that. And then we've got a Gajok in Manchester, which is about a month or two. So there's still competitions that are about, and I'm going to enter, but not as much now. I'm trying to concentrate more on my club and also on my students, getting them to their standard. You
mentioned a little bit about forms. And again, just to educate anybody potentially watching that's not familiar with martial arts, can you talk just a little bit about what doing forms is, or like a kata, that type of thing, so people understand? Because I think when you hear martial arts, they're thinking, well, you're fighting somebody. What is this other stuff you're talking about? So could you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll have a little video clip of you performing as well.
Yeah, there's. The thing is, karate and Chinese, they do forms as well, different forms. But in Taekwondo, they're called Taegyuk forms. Now there's 8 forms for up to black belt, so 8 different. Some of them have got more movements than others. They start with about 24 moves, going up to 30, up to black belt. Then black belt and above do another 8 forms. And then basically what you're doing is you're defending and attacking in a sequence. So every form starts off with a defense, with self-defense. So you start up with a block, then a punch, then a movement, and the set ones. Some of them up to 30 or 40 moves, and you're marked on them. So the black belt forms obviously a little bit more intense and harder than some of the lower grade forms. So there's 8 forms for each belt, at the yellow belt, green belt, the lower belts, up to black belt, 8 forms. Then there's above that, there's 8 forms right up to 8th dan, 9th dan. And the thing is that there's no 10th dan. If anybody ever says you're the 10th dan, there isn't, because they give them to people who've died. They're like posthumous.
Okay.
So basically it's set movements, and they are down on the World Taekwondo Federation. They've been there for years. Some of them are like going back to the old Takon, which was like a dance, and they've been brought through from that. And some of them have got quite complicated jumping kicks and things, and so they're not easy really as you're getting older.
Let's just take a quick second of Peter performing some of these activities. Take a little watch of this video. Obviously, you're doing the coaching, you're running your clinics, you're still doing some competition. What else do you do for a training regimen to keep yourself fit, strong, agile, all those types of things?
Well, when I get up, the first thing I do is I do my food, which I've got a really good diet, and the wife helps me with that. To be honest, I'm eating nuts and seeds. It's wondering I'm hopping around the backyard. But I start off with that. Then I start off with very light weights in the morning. I do about half an hour session of flexibility, so very light weights, mobile and stretching. So 30 to 35 minutes of very light weights, and just keeping myself moving and mobile, because that's what I need as you get older. Mobility is more important than flexibility. Then, like I said, after that, I normally go to the gym. I've got a gym membership in the morning, or I go to walk. So I do one walk a day, a small walk, So perhaps a mile or so one day. Then the next day I have to do a big walk and then a small walk and a big walk. But then I've got gym membership, so I'll probably go to the gym nearly every day unless I've got something on. And then I work on heavier weights, big lifting bells, more intense stretching. So I'll go into the splits and stuff like that. I've got a nice room where I go, not a lot of people in it, and I can work on my flexibility, which is the main thing for Taekwondo kicking. And then when you're reaching 70, you know, this is where things start, you know. And also, I did have an injury, back of my leg, up the side a while back, and the physios give me a lot of preventative exercises, and I use them in my routine. So even though the problem with people when they get injuries is they get all these things off the physio to do, then forget them, then it comes back. So I try and bring them into my routine when I go down to the gym, and you know, probably an hour to 2 hours, depending on how many coffee breaks I have.
Okay, so you mentioned a little bit about your diet. Why don't you give us kind of the full scope of your diet and nutrition routine?
I don't have sugar, no sugar. I've never had sugar for years. I don't have bread. Don't have bread. I sometimes have a pita bread with salad in, but most of my food is nuts in the morning. I have grains, nuts, berries, kefir, you know, on top, and honey. That's it then. Then for dinner, it's normally a salad, whatever the wife cooks, you know, or doesn't cook, but salad with chicken or, you know, not really beef or anything. Then nighttime, we have something more substantial, but again, it's keeping within the realms of whatever, you know, the wife's into this all as well. So I let her do it. So I can't cook, Larry, I don't know. But she does keep very well. And the moment I'm trying to lose a bit more weight because of Christmas, I've been on the mince pies. But I've gone down from 87 down to just below 80, 70 odd, going down to 75 before Christmas. I got right down, then to come back. So we're always fighting, you know. And like I say, it's your shape, for like, you know, for yourself, it's your shape. And the thing is, I don't want to be controversial here. I can't go into my classes and tell them that Taekwondo keeps you fit and flexible if I'm, you know what, you know. So it's another part of my training is that I've got to keep myself fit, because you can't profess that you're doing people good if, you know, if you're not doing that good yourself.
And that kind of segues into my question about, I guess, what motivates you. It sounds like that's one of the things that motivates you to keep going, that you can lead others in their journey. And I don't want to answer for you, but I'll say what does motivate you to keep going these days?
We've had some great competitors. You know, we've had Amy Truesdale. I'm bringing Amy back because, like you say, you'll be seeing her competing in Paris this year. But she motivates me because I go up to Chester and see a lot, you know. But also I've got other good players coming through. We lose them, Larry. You know yourself. The biggest problem, I don't want to go on to it, is when we get these good 16, 17, 18-year-olds, we lose them to school, college, and all the other activities, and we get some fantastic players. But we have to try and keep going. That can be unmotivating, you know, when you see good players. But there's always new people coming up. So I'm always watching for talent. And again, we try and help them through. We've got another good lad coming through now. I've got a direct link as well with GB Taekwondo, because the guy who's the performance director for the Olympics, Gary Hall, who Jay Jones, you know, all that you've heard, all the Olympic athletes in there, he's the performance head. I used to sort of go to school with him. He's from Stoke on Trent. He's from around here. So I'm a big fan with this. So I get a lot of information off Gary about what's happening up there. And my motivation really is, if you want to be blunt, I don't want to die. Not yet, anyway. So I'm trying to keep as fit as I can. Obviously, like I said, for my club, I want to be able to demonstrate. I can't tell you, Larry, to do a jump spin 580-degree kick if I can't do it. So I think the time I retire is when I really can't show things or do things. So that's another motivation for me as well. So it's all club-based and student-based.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more specifics about the clubs that you participate with?
Right, I've got 3 main clubs. We've got one called the Wallace Sports and Education Centre, which is about 1.5 miles from me. It's a nice venue, and we train there twice a week. We do Mondays, that's at 5 o'clock, at night, and then we do Saturday mornings, which is 10:30 in the morning, and that's more competition training. I have another class at Smallthorne Community Centre. That's another mile that way, which is a smaller club, but we train there on Tuesdays at 6:30. And then we've got a club in Cheshire, which is quite a way away. I do that on a Wednesday, and that's at Sandbach, which is a town just bordering on Manchester. And we do an hour there, and that's in a very old building, Sandbach Literature Institute, and that's on Wednesdays at 6:30. We've got 4 main clubs, and you know, we don't. I know a lot in America and a lot of places they have their own studios. You know, they have their own studios, and which is okay. But I find that we've had clubs close, and you know, people move out. So it's better if people don't come to my class, which I rent the hall, we can just move out. You know, we've got no overheads to pay, so I find it better that way. I also do Zoom classes for people who, some people have left the club, and have to move away to the coast. So they've actually asked if they can keep on having lessons, and they do them on Zoom. So we do one of them once a week or twice a week, and Zoom seminars sometimes I've done in the past. Well, I'll explain. The headquarters in Korea is called Cookie 1. My shed is called Cookie 2. So I've got a big shed called Cookie 2. So a lot of quite famous Taekwondo people have been in there. Aaron Cook and Bianca Walton. And I do one-to-one private lessons. I train myself in there as well. It's just a massive shed, really, you know, but it's mirrored. And I can get probably 6 people in. But I do a lot of my own personal training in there. And it gets a bit cold in the winter, so I come into the conservatory then. But I'm training most of the time anyway, in some form.
For more information on those clubs, please check some of the links below in the description. So, Peter, many of the Autumn athletes that I speak to have taken on different activities at a later age in life. So what would you say to someone who's never been in Taekwondo and maybe they've been in some sort of sports, or maybe they've been dormant for a little while and they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever? What would you say to them about getting started with Taekwondo for the first time, and maybe the benefits of doing that for someone who's a little bit older?
Taekwondo is pretty established all over the country now, and there's a club finder on the British Taekwondo website. So if you want to get into Taekwondo at any age, you can find the club finder, put the postcode in, and find any club. I think you need to do the same thing as you would with any sport, athletics or anything, is go and see the doctor first to make sure that you've got no complaints that might. I mean, people in our club, when they come, we have forms that they have to fill in, you know, with like the medical history, certain things that you can't train with, like the one where you bleed profusely if you get hit or stuff like that. So I think you really need to look at yourself and say, look, am I okay for this sport? Like you would be if you're going to start running marathons. Get a sort of check-up that there's nothing seriously underlying. And then if you come into the sport, take it easy. Obviously, with sports like karate and taekwondo and kung fu, there's a lot of flexibility required. So you need to build that up slowly. There are sports, though, that you don't need the flexibility, like judo. But then again, you're being thrown about. that could have a different effect on you, you know. But I'd look it up first, but I wouldn't say no, because we've got people. Surprising enough, we've got quite old elderly people in the club, which you wouldn't think. We've got old Pete Cliff, he's 80, and he can do the splits. He'll show you can do the splits, Pete can. And he's, you know, so it's like any sport, as long as you come in gradually and don't come in running, you know, especially at our ages, you can do it. But you've got to marginal gains, moving forward slowly. And if you get an injury, tell the instructor or tell the coach, you know, don't try and be brave and go through it. You can modify exercises. So what I do in the club, if somebody comes to me and says, well, I've got a bad leg, I say, well, we can do the arm exercises. We can do the stretches. You know, you can modify like you would in a gym. So I think the key is to take it easy. Don't run at it. And I think you can do any sport, you know, within reason. So it's just a matter of taking your time, looking at it first. Having a taster session is a good thing. Most clubs give taster sessions, so you can say, yeah, you know, that's okay, or no, that's a little bit too, it's a little bit too, you know, aggressive. But we did do Kick Sister. British Taekwondo did Kick Sister a couple of years back, which is bringing women into the martial arts, and a lot of them were more elderly in Kick Sister. And basically, it was very low kicking and just and punching. So it was adaptation of the sport. So there's different ways. We know people who come in at 60, 70 aren't getting kicked vertical, but we can get a really good kick out of them somewhere, here. So it's not all about the height and the flexibility. So take it easy and have a go, have a taster session and see what you think. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's the key probably, because especially a combat sport like Taekwondo could be a little intimidating if you've never done it before at any age, but certainly as an older age. So to hear an expert like you talking about being able to modify some of it to be able to just, it's exercise, right? And work on your balance and some flexibility and not be scared away by the combat idea of Taekwondo and use it as a fitness tool, I think would be a great alternative for somebody who's never tried it. That's outstanding stuff. Would you do anything differently throughout your fitness career?
Anything different? I don't think so. No, I think everything's good. Touch wood, at the moment, if I can get to 70 in this condition, I'll be happy.
So we were talking a little before, Peter, and you mentioned about a great honor that you just got. So I'd like to give you a second to tell us a little bit about what this honor is that you were just given.
It was a Taekwondo Hall of Fame award. I didn't know anything about it at first. I think you get sort of elected by certain people who've already got the award. I think a guy named Trent Staffordshire, who's quite high up in Taekwondo, put me forward for the award. I was invited, you've got the award, to go over to the USA and go to this big awards presentation. And I was going to a competition, and I paid a lot of money to go to the competition, so I couldn't go. But it is a good achievement, and it's for what I've done for Taekwondo. And I was nominated by a couple of people, and Tom Stammer from up north, he was one of the nominators, and it's a great achievement, I think, for my sport.
So tell us, what is your general secret sauce to being 68, going on 69, and still kicking, pun intended?
Like I say, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I don't think I've got that sort of anything hidden there within me. And I don't worry, Larry. I mean, when I used to work, I was the same. I don't worry about nothing. I just try and get on with it. And a lot of people worry about this. And I think that's a big part of it. It's making these decisions in the morning to go somewhere. And, if you worry about it, well, no, you go. I just go. And I think, I don't want to be sitting in the house. I'm retired. I don't want to sit in the house. I'll be sitting in the gym. So I think it's what I do. And I think I don't want to stop because, like I said, that big grim reaper is hanging over. And I'm trying to keep, I know you can't. Things happen. Things happen to you. You know that. Things that you can't stop. But keep going. I can't see any reason not to. I don't work. I work in Taekwondo, but I don't work in a job. Why don't you keep fit?
Sure.
And I haven't got an injury. I know a lot of people will be saying, well, you haven't got, yeah, but I'm trying to stave that off. Keep that away.
Well, that's some good stuff here. Thank you so much for sharing with us what makes you an Autumn athlete that's not done yet. I want to close by giving you the floor to just offer our audience any final thoughts that you'd like to share with them.
Just don't give up. I mean, I think a lot of people, we used to say at work, some people, when they're retired, especially, it became pipe and slippers. Get your pipe and slippers on, and that was it. No, I think you just need to keep active, and small gains, just walking every day, that's enough. You get fresh air, you get the vitamin D. If you join the gym and just do some sort of sport or even an activity with the locals, it's great. It'll keep you going, but you've got to keep mobile. People, once you stop, that's it. It's like a shark. Once a shark stops, it drops to the bottom and dies. So you have to just keep going. And we were made to move. That's the main thing, I think. We were made to move. We weren't made to lie on the couch.
Well, there you go, Autumn athletes. Great advice from Peter Johnson. He's definitely not done yet. Thanks again, Peter, so much for joining us. Autumn athletes, take care, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.